Oh my god, the host just triple sat me.
You see who's food running today?
56 was just sitting there making out the entire time I was trying to take
Why do we have
order.
so many servers on the floor? Did you hear about 73?
This is a work of fiction. Any similarity to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events, is purely coincidental.
Also, I don't know who he was sitting with, but she seemed much more into him than either of us have ever been. Obviously, because we're both...
Well, I was going to say, yeah, why would we ever be into him?
No, we wouldn't. But I mean, like, even engaging in conversation or whatever, she was very much, and then he buys us shots, so I was just like, oh, you have a girl with you. Like, maybe don't do that? Yeah. I don't know. Like, it'd be
fair, yeah.
It'd be super fucking weird if I was at the bar with my boyfriend, he buys 2 other girls shots. I'd be like, I don't care how well you know them from this bar. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, and now I don't think that was his girlfriend, but she very much was there for him.
Yeah, that's what.
So
if I was on a date with somebody,
he's talking around her to talk to us, and I was just like, ooh. So I kind of like cheers to her too, because she's like now included in this, and I was like, ooh, this is a little weird.
If I was on a date with somebody and they bought other women's shots at the bar, I'd be like, so this isn't going anywhere. Cool.
Yeah, or I'd be like, you're buying my whole tab, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you ask me to split this with you later, we're going to have a problem. Like, I'm sorry you have money to dish out on strangers.
I came here with money, and now it's staying in my wallet.
And I'm leaving with my money, yes, in fact.
Absolutely fair.
Welcome back to Rolling Silverware, everybody. I'm Bunny.
I'm Kat.
And it has been a fucking weekend.
It's just drama filled.
Oh my
gosh.
Drama. Every day it's been so exciting.
I've been thriving at work.
I'm bubbly at work. Like, every time I turn the corner, some new fucking shit is happening, and I'm just like, I live for weekends like this. Like, this has been yesterday. No, sorry, not yesterday.
No, Friday. Yeah.
You weren't there on Friday, and I immediately texted you because we weren't sure if we were going to get together Friday or Sunday this week, and it was like, oh, I got stuff going on Saturday, so it's like, okay, is it gonna be Friday or Sunday? And you're like, yeah, we'll play it by ear, like, just let me know. And I'm like, no, I need to see you tonight.
Yeah. And like, for a hot second I thought something was wrong, like,
for sure. And that tracks. Like, I would probably think the same thing, because I just sent off the like, no, I absolutely need to see you tonight.
Yeah.
It was so much information that I was bursting at the seams. Like, it was so many things happening. Where do you want to begin?
I mean, I guess we start with the server manager,
right?
I mean, because that's huge news.
This one of the biggest things of the weekend.
Yeah, server manager no longer with us.
Has been removed from the company. Yep.
And I watched, at this specific restaurant, I watched a guy who had literally sexually assaulted a server stay on with the company for months afterwards because he was just a really hard worker. So
we're not going to be able to find anybody to work as hard as he does, so he's just going to stay.
In the dish pit. Like, he was a dishwasher. Like, I'm sorry. I understand that that's a hard position to fill, but also...
Yeah, because nobody wants to do it, but also he was the most garbage human being. Like, oh my God, every word out of his mouth was rude.
Yeah.
He was rude to all of us. He hit on all of us. It was non-stop harassment from this guy at the dish pit.
Literally grabbed a girl's apron in the front right where her area is that should never be touched by somebody that you work with. And it was just...
Yeah, I don't even know how that could have come about. Like, what was going on? I mean, that guy was fucking manic. Like, he was crazy.
And he stayed on for months. They didn't get rid of him. So I'm like shocked that we are firing anybody. But this isn't the first firing that's happened in the last couple of weeks.
No, we
just haven't spoken about it on the podcast. But it is absolutely... We let go of a host not that long ago because... Apparently she'd had some guest complaints about her attitude, and so they just let her go. They said, you're not a fit, and she'd been with us for years, longer than I had been there.
I didn't think she had been there. Sorry, I'm just a little confused on the time frame here. I knew that she had been with us a while, absolutely. But also, like, sweetheart down to her core, like, did she run into issues with people? I guess. Yeah, so they let her go. That also seemed a little sketchy to me because... When I talked to managers about it, or even the supervisor about it, I was like, hey, because it felt like out of left field to me.
It really did.
I was on that shift. She came on, she gets spoken to, and then she is let go. Mm-hmm. She is bawling in tears. She's in the back, on the back dock area, and she's like, I don't understand. I don't know what happened. I had not realized that she had been suspended that many times prior, because I think it was actually 2 or 3.
Yeah,
I thought
I
it was
realized.
just one. I thought it was just one suspension. So I guess in the eyes of a company, yeah, if we're going to keep suspending you, we're just going to let you go.
Yeah.
Like that, it makes sense the more I thought about it, but I just wasn't aware that it had gotten to that point, because she was such a light in the restaurant,
Yeah, she was one of my favorite hosts to work with, yeah.
She had a great attitude. She was, she showed up on time, and she did her job, and she took care of things, but...
Yeah, she was definitely one of my favorite people to work with. I definitely enjoyed her. I mean, I guess if you're getting guest complaints and, you're being suspended that many times for, a one specific thing over and over again, I understand that part. I guess it just didn't compute with me, like the person that I know and I see and that I work with and who approaches me felt like such a different person than who was quote unquote complaining about her.
Well, and we have had other hosts, one in particular who has had, I can't even tell you how many guest complaints over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been there way longer than I have.
Yeah.
And they don't, she just gets to walk all over guests whenever she wants. Like, I've heard the way she talks to guests on the phone. It's not great. Like, the amount of, she just tells people no. And I get it. Like, if you're getting a ridiculous question, like, we all want to say no. But I have to bite my tongue like 7 times a night. And she's up at the front just saying whatever she wants. Like, okay, but she gets to stay. But this sweet, innocent girl has to go.
I mean, at one point it made sense, the host that you're talking about, because her mom was a manager. So, you know what I mean?
Then
so
once
it made
they let her go.
Yeah, I was going to say that nepotism really ran deep. But then once they let her mom go, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense as to why she's still allowed to, like you said, it doesn't.
herself the way that she does. Like, if you want to talk about guest complaints, I would assume, even from my own tables, I've had tables complain about this other host multiple times. And I hadn't at the time anyways heard a lot about, the one that got let go. But again, like I said, I didn't realize that she had been suspended as many times as she had. That's a paper trail. At that point, if you have a certain number of counsels or write-ups, you're
getting let go.
Yeah, you're destined to be let go. I just wasn't aware.
Yeah. And I'm not exactly sure, like, back of house, right? I don't keep up to date, I guess, too much with what back of house is doing and how many times any of those guys have been suspended or let go.
Sure, I have no idea.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But server manager, it feels like it's left out of left field for me, but it also doesn't, because I do know that from the get, our general manager did not like the server manager.
Did not like her from the start. They fought
constantly.
They had words together numerous times. Or one would leave the minute the other one arrived to work. Like, it was very obvious we all felt the tension between them. And we've all spoken about this, I think the entire crew now, because it was announced the other day that she's no longer with us, or she's no longer with the company. And it's like, okay, so you fired her. Like, it's just such a, server manager's no longer with the company. And it's like, well, we all know she didn't quit. So she was absolutely busting ass 2 days ago. But we've all spoken about it, that she wasn't necessarily the best at her role.
No, however, she was garbage.
I mean, not full garbage, but half garbage at least,
So here's the thing, is she cared. Right?
She did care, and she was really great to talk to. That's the thing. I do feel that every single time I spoke to her about an issue or a problem or even just a frustration that I had, I felt 100% heard at the end of that conversation. She did not make excuses. She did not try to work her way around what I was saying and make me feel less than. Every single time, I feel like she heard what I said and she took it to heart. So to have that be the person that is now gone. Now, granted, we do have other people in the restaurant currently who I do feel that way with also. But to have her just be gone, it's like, well, no, she wasn't necessarily the best at her job because she was overwhelmed constantly.
And that's what I was going to say is she was set up to fail.
Absolutely.
Personally, that's how I feel. We brought her in directly into senior management when she didn't have any sit-down restaurant experience.
Which was wild.
And
when she described where she had been previously, I was like, none of that tracks for where we are.
Right. I don't even think she ever even started her senior management training, if I'm being perfectly honest. I mean, she never really talked about it. She didn't have, like, the paperwork and all that stuff that I've seen other managers have with them when they go through senior management training.
I thought she just got hired on as a senior manager. Meaning she started, instead of just doing manager training, she did senior manager training.
No, I didn't know that. Yeah, that would be crazy.
That's what I'm don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure that that's how it was. Because when she came on, it was, I'm a senior manager. So she did all of her training, and she did all of her panels, and she did all of her...
You mentioned before, like, oh, well, we wouldn't hire her if that wasn't the case. And my reaction then, and still now to this day, is we shouldn't have hired her then. Because she didn't have the experience to justify that. Right.
And she definitely was at a loss for a lot of things for this style of restaurant. She was definitely at a loss. She didn't know her way around how to, a floor plan. She didn't know her way around a lot of things. And yeah, it was super frustrating at times having me go to her and be like, hey, I need this, I need this, I need this. And she forgot things left and right.
Yeah, she really couldn't be pulled in multiple directions.
At all. She needed one straight line of, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm handling. And I can't tell you how many times I had to tell her 3, 4, 5 times that I needed something.
Oh, for sure.
But
she also, I don't
think that negates the fact that she was genuinely trying really hard.
I think that she was trying, and I think that she, like I said, she was set up to fail because they were like, yeah, you want to do this, go for it. And then she didn't really get any support. Like, our general manager couldn't stand her. So she didn't have any support in order to...
Yeah, she didn't have a backing at all.
To learn what she needed to learn. But then, you do kind of get to a point where it's like, okay, well, where is the personal responsibility in this situation, right? Like, you've been here now 8 months. So you're saying you still don't understand a floor plan? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, still to this day, you can't figure out a floor plan.
Yeah, like, if I'm coming in as just your lead server and I'm looking at stuff and going, all of this is wrong, and then she's going to come to me and be like, oh, yeah, you're absolutely right, that is wrong, let me go fix it. It's like, well, this should have been...
It should have been obvious.
This shouldn't be a conversation we're having.
Yes.
It should have been on it right there when I walked in. It should have been the way that I'm saying, only because it's been that way every other time.
Yes. So I definitely, I see kind of like both sides of it. Definitely, you know what I mean? Like, there is that level of personal responsibility where she should have taken it more upon herself to learn more.
Right.
Not even learn more, just kind of understand the like basic concepts of a sit down restaurant and get those down. And she didn't get those down. But then also there was no support for her in the management team. There was no support. They really threw her to the wolves.
Exactly. Nobody was there to have her back in any instance because every single thing that went wrong was met with a general manager that was like, yeah, of course it was wrong. Of course it was wrong because she did it.
It wasn't even just the general manager, though. Like, other managers would be like, yeah, it was her, of course. Like, there was a lot of animosity in the management team against her specifically. So they brought her in with no sit-down restaurant experience, gave her the largest work group in our sit-down restaurant.
Yeah, less than a month in, she was handling the server work group.
And then said,
immense.
Good fucking luck, sweetie.
Yeah.
And then let her go not that long after. Like, it seems... not okay. You know what I mean? It feels icky.
Well, and we all know that, they had it out for her for a while.
Yeah.
And also, I guess I just have a little bit more of like a personal attachment to her because I know everything that she had gone through. She was having health issues,
I was gonna say, at one point her blood pressure got so high from the stress.
Yeah, she ended up in the hospital twice.
Hospitalized from this restaurant.
2 separate times she was hospitalized because of stress and because of just other like health issues. And it's like, can you really blame somebody for having health issues? Like, I understand that she had to take that time off, or she had to, we had to work around that schedule to like make it fit without her. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I see both sides.
It felt very much a personal attack.
And yeah, and I feel like this obviously isn't confirmed by anybody, but it does feel like you can almost feel the tension in the restaurant from other managers, and that kind of like, ooh, if it could happen to the server manager, it could really happen to any of us. Right. And I think once the hostess that we let go, it kind of rippled through the hostesses as well, and the servers. You and I even spoke about like, ooh, maybe, let's... Not that we ever slack off in anything, but in the sense of like, oh, let's just, as much as we can tighten up. We're already pretty tight, but let's get even tighter than we already are.
Right.
Because, you and I were very worried for a second, like, oh, if they're, going to be letting go people, maybe we should make sure that we are very much on top of, our stations and our pre-setting and our pre-bussing. And, there cannot be one single thing that anybody complains about us about.
But also we came in, like I came into this restaurant and we spoke about this earlier, but I've had so many different managers in this restaurant.
Yeah.
The manager that we had for the longest time very much let everyone slack off all the time.
Yeah.
So this went from like the tightest run ship I had ever been a part of to very quickly, you just do whatever you want to do and there's no repercussions for anything.
Yeah.
To the point where it was frustrating for the crew. Yeah. And we were like, wait a minute, the ball's being dropped here, here, and here, and nobody's getting spoken to about it. So we all kind of hit a point where it was like, well, if they don't have to do it, I don't have to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, so we all kind of fell into that pattern of like, well, what's good enough is just good enough.
At one point, one of the biggest things that I used to say all the time during that time frame that you're talking about was, if the management doesn't care about this, why should I?
Right. I'm getting paid much less than the people who are supposed to care about this. And if I'm literally being told care less, which some of us in fact were told to care less, like, you're coming to me with too many problems, I want you to stop. Yeah. Like, this is like, I just don't care. So if you're going to tell me that, then I'm also not going to care as much.
I mean, let's verify the old GM that got transferred to another location.
Yeah, got his nice promotion.
Who's still with this company, told a bartender who was, in fact, at the time, the bar lead.
Right. Our bar lead, who was doing everything in her power at that time to try to make things better.
She tried so hard to
turn that bar around, which had been a very toxic place for a long time. And she did everything.
For her, too. Like, in a harsh way.
Absolutely. And she did everything in her power, include going to the general manager repeatedly over and over again, to which she was met with, I need you to care about 50% less.
Yeah. Crazy.
I can't even imagine what? Like, you just said what?
Yeah. You said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, this is your entire job, bro. Like, what do you mean care less? And then, that was... So anyways, to get us to the point where we are now, and it's just like, there's only so much that can be done to build us back up, right? And I would love to see this place up and running to the point that it was before. Like, I'm trying on all of my closing shifts when I'm the hammer and everything, I'm trying everything I can to get everybody to do all of it, that like every single standard that we're supposed to do. And it's not just me, it's the other hammers, it's a lot of our other crew who had been there longer. It's just hard because the majority of our quote unquote newer crew was hired during that shitty GM time. Yeah. And so they were trained basically with like all these standards, and then as the minute they hit the floor, it's, well, none of those standards really matter. Yeah. You don't actually have to do any of that because nobody's going to keep track of it, But to get back on to the, the fact that our server manager is now gone, it does feel, like we said, it does feel like a personal attack. But also, could I rely on her every single day? No, I couldn't. Yeah. But do I feel like she made an impact on the crew? Yeah, I do. Yeah. And I do feel like in the time that she was with us, especially with our newer GM not always being able to handle personal relations very well.
The personable aspect
of
it,
the one-on-one aspect of things, sometimes she's just not so great at them. To have somebody that was really great at that did kind of it could turn a shift around. Where I felt like I'm not being heard, but now I have this person that's like, has my back and can say, absolutely, everything you're saying, I'm hearing it and you're right. And it's like, I don't need to be right in every situation. You can absolutely tell me, no, Bunny, you're freaking out about shit. Like, calm down. Like you need to dial it back. But to have somebody that could be like, yeah, I also agree that was messed up.
Well, I mean, let's talk about host manager getting his little cute promotion. I do feel like he's somebody that we can absolutely talk to. And he is also somebody that can be pulled in multiple directions and still stay on track. He's also somebody great with the personable aspect of it.
So great with the guests. He's great with all of us. I enjoy every single shift that I work with him since he has started. Absolutely. I have not had a single issue. There has not been one day that I am not genuinely excited to see him in the building.
Same.
So I do think fantastic hire.
I also think that he is somebody that could look at you and say, Bunny, no, you're being crazy, relax. Like whereas that's somewhere where the old server manager maybe kind of lacked a little bit.
Yeah, she just took it all.
Yeah, she wasn't really going to give a whole lot of criticism as much as she was just going to be like, okay, I hear you. Okay, I understand you. Right. I understand where you're coming from, da-da-da. Whereas, the host manager who's now being promoted is going to look at us and be like, okay, like, relax. If it's ever something super crazy, he's going to be like, all right. Yeah. I hear you. I understand you. But let's put this in perspective. How important is that really.
Right.
He's somebody that's going to give that harsh criticism, and I do 100% appreciate that.
Yeah, and I want that. Absolutely. And I will say that for all of the things that I went to the old server manager about, none of them were solved.
True.
Everything that I spoke about was met with amazing, like amazing words back to me and like an amazing attitude back to me, but none of it ever came to fruition.
I mean, I've said something before where a lot of her response was, I don't have a good answer for that.
Right.
And it's like, can you for once have a good answer for
where
this?
I will say that the host manager,
he gets shit done.
And I just recently, we were talking about the fans for the bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
That took 2 conversations from me because and then it was his weekend. Okay, he doesn't need to work on his weekend. Absolutely not. But then I had one more conversation with him, and then, okay, let's put this. I talked to everybody else on the management team. He spoke with our general manager, and then it's like, okay, we're going to do that. Yeah. And so it's like to see my, like suggestions or things, and then have somebody meet me with, yeah, I agree with you. And now we're going that route. Yeah. You're right. This is a good solution. Or even if it wasn't a good solution, I do believe that he would have told me like, that doesn't really make sense.
And for whatever reason, it doesn't make sense. Like he would
right. Instead of just being like, oh yeah, well, we'll see. So I do feel like a lot more action is being taken now. And same with even our new bar manager, who we have doing a lot of back of house, but he is still our bar manager.
We haven't spoken much about him, but
so kind.
He's such a sweetheart. I love him so much. I haven't had any conversations with him where I was telling him about anything or complaining to him, so I don't have that kind of interaction with him. But I do really love just how humble he is, and you and I were talking to him about this
yesterday,
and telling him like, you're so great, you're so humble, and he's just like, no, it's not that, it's just that I don't really, I've only been here a year, and it's like you're proving my point.
Right,
like,
you're doing it right now. Yeah, to be like, well, you guys know more than I do about the restaurant because you've been here so much longer than me. That's not words that I think I've heard from any other manager.
Yeah.
And so thank you. Thank you, absolutely. Because, I mean, firsthand, we used to have a supervisor who got promoted to manager. But when I would speak to him and be like, hey, this is not our current supervisor, but previously, and I'd be like, hey, I've done this job that you're doing, so I would have done it this way. And it's, no. I've been trained. I know what I'm doing. And it's like, well, you're fucking it up. So
you're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong. And I also went through the same fucking training that you did. But okay, no, that's fine. That's right.
Not only the same training. Let's talk about it. Not only the same training that you did, but also you had years of experience
in this exact field.
And he had 6 months as a host before he got trained into supervisor. So
right. And he would constantly talk down to me and things like that. And also he was years younger than me. I don't feel like, and even though our now bar manager, he's younger than me by a handful of years. Mm-hmm. I don't think too many. And so younger than you as well. But it's like, I don't get that. Like that cockiness and that like arrogance off of him at all. And so it's just really nice to have, a man in charge who's willing to say, I'm probably wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, thank you. Like, I really appreciate that. And yeah, he's just a good time. He's got a great attitude.
Fun. Yeah.
And he's willing to learn, and he just wants to know, what do you think? It builds a better morale. And I do feel like we are building towards a better morale, which is great.
We just need to find the right team. I feel like since I started, because I started with the bad manager, the bad GM. You started with a really, really solid GM who
hands down one of the most amazing managers.
Our old busser who moved to States. Mm-hmm. Loved the kid. He was an absolutely incredible busser. He had been with the company for so long. Uh-huh. I will never forget one time the GM that we had when you started came in to help out, right? Like she just came to our location for a quick, like, I'm just going to manage really quick for the shift. Told our old busser, like, can you do X, Y, and Z in the bathroom? And he was telling me about this, and he was like, I've never been so excited to be told what to do. Like, our GM that we have now just doesn't care about this restaurant at all. He doesn't care about what it looks like or what's clean. Like, it was so nice. Like, please tell me what to do.
And that's exactly what it was.
Give me a job and make sure that I'm not slacking.
Right. Make sure I'm doing it right, because that's my whole point. Like, you're paying me to do this job, And so if there's nobody checking your work, you will start to slack off. Mm-hmm. And like I said, that's exactly what happened to all of us. I absolutely fell into that hole.
Yeah.
If you're not going to check me out at the end of the night and make sure I'm doing my shit, slowly but surely, I'm going to stop doing all of it.
Yeah, again,
especially if you're going to look me in the face and tell me it's fine, you can go home. Are you sure? Yeah. Are you sure I can go home? Like, we all get really hectic. We all get really busy, and sometimes we miss a step here or there. But if you're not going to check that or even care to check it.
Yeah.
And the thing about it was she genuinely cared. And obviously she moved up in the company as well, as she should.
As she should, because she was a great,
fantastic. Like, when I tell literally every single person that comes in that talks to me about her, that was hands down the best restaurant I ever walked into and started working for. To have she was strict, but not harsh. You know, she had her points and she made them, and everybody respected her because you wanted to respect her. Mm-hmm. We weren't afraid of her. She was absolutely somebody that I could talk to and I could, vent to, and I could have a conversation with, like, lighthearted. But also when she said, hey, you need to work on this, I genuinely felt like I needed to work on it. And it wasn't a personal attack. It was just, hey.
It was never petty shit either.
No,
it was always
like, it was just our standard is.
Mm-hmm, I want to be the best server that I can be.
Right.
And if she's telling me I'm slacking on something, I'm going to fix that immediately.
Fix it.
Yeah.
So, and then we immediately dropped to not that. So,
and all of that just ties back to, if the people making salary over $100K a year don't care, this company pays me minimum wage.
Right.
My guests pay me more than that. But
so I'm going to care for my guests.
Yeah.
But if you don't want me to care further than that, then I guess I won't.
Exactly. But if they can't give themselves to care about it, why should I?
Right. And I do feel like we are on kind of this cusp of a turning point where things can be better. Yeah. And I'm happy to do it. All of our hammers, including now.
Stop it!
Kat has recently been promoted to hammer.
I did. So I had that one little, like, hammer shift. It was an emergency hammer shift.
Right, which we spoke about last week.
Yeah, it was very much just like, ooh, we don't have anybody else and you've been wanting to do it. So here, let's just do this for a second. Yeah. But we did, I spoke with the general manager and let her know that I have spoken to my direct server managers multiple times over at this point, and it just kind of feels like we're cycling through them. So maybe I should speak with a general manager about what I wish for myself in this company. And so we're gonna start throwing me on those and do little trials and make sure that I'm up to par of what they want. And I have been working on my attitude every time I go into the restaurant. I'm very
of our current crew, I have to say, while I love a lot of our current crew, if I were to pick any person that I think could uphold the standards that we're supposed to uphold and also have that, like, grounding of, no, this stuff needs to get done, it would be you. Well, and that's not just biased, because you're my best friend. It's because sometimes I walk past you while you're talking to your tables and all I can think is, holy crap, she's really, like, you've been really good at this. Yeah. You have almost 2 full decades in the industry. Like, if you're not good at it, there's a bigger problem.
Yeah,
like,
fair.
You should quit.
Find a better day job.
Right. Do something else if after 20 years you're not really good at it. But you're consistent, you're solid, and you don't make the excuses that sometimes other people make, You're
ready. Do want to be a good server. Like,
right, and you're ready to do it, and you're so good with your guests. And, like, you even take extra steps because you learned from other restaurants, right? And so I wasn't ever taught at any other restaurant that necessarily it wasn't a standard to specify, like, are there any allergies I should be aware of? But I hear you saying that to just about every single table. Yeah. And you're taking that extra step to make sure that everything goes properly.
Yes.
And that's very important. And I think that you deserve every second of it.
Thank you. I'm very excited. I think that it's going to be eye-opening. Personally, for me, I think
you're going to see a lot of stuff from this side of it, because it definitely changes even how some coworkers are going to
respond to me. Right. Yeah. So I think that it'll be fun, and I'm very up for the challenge, and I have, specified with the general manager and even with our regional manager. We had a regional service manager in not that long ago and talked to her about what my wishes were for the company and that this was something that I wanted to do and pursue. And, she gave me some feedback on the couple of things that, because she's not in every single day. She's not working with me 5 days a week.
Right. It's just what she can see from this moment right now. Yeah. So here's maybe some tips or whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely, here's, these things and these things. And it's absolutely, please, give me the criticism, give me the feedback. I want to be the best that I can be within this company and go as far as I want to.
Right.
I don't have an interest in going into management. I don't want to be a supervisor next. I don't have any interest in doing any of that. But I do want to be able to go as far as I want, which is being a lead server. And if that's, you know what I mean? If anybody has ever given me any feedback on this is what you need to do, it's fixed.
Baby, absolutely. You're never going to see it another way again.
From this moment forward, baby, it's fixed. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I don't have an interest in just being that, like, middle of the road.
Right.
Like, oh, yeah, I don't really care, you know, this and that, da-da-da.
No,
like,
I definitely have, like, one day every month or so where I'm just like, can I go home? Like, can I just please be the person that goes home? But that's... day to day when I walk in the building, I am here to do the job that you are paying me to do. Mm-hmm. And also I have the standing that I have because you see that I can do it to the full aspect. And I think that you also can. Yeah. Without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah. So.
But yeah, I think it'll be really interesting on the other side of things to kind of see how it goes. I had a small taste of it last week with how just wild it was, but I also feel like that was because it wasn't an emergency hammer shift. It wasn't really seen as like a full, like, okay, Kat is your hammer, so talk to Kat. It was like, okay, well, a manager's here and this person's in that hammer section, but she's
not really that role.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think that I got a full experience of it. I think I got a small little taste, which part of it I hated. But
it's going to be a lot of fun to have everybody excited. Telling you how there's no silverware to roll and that you have to run around and go check. And yeah, it's a lot of, I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes you're just dealing with grown children. Yeah. And so it's just keeping the children in line. And like, come on, like there's definitely times in my, you know, hammer shifts where I'm like, guys, can we just get it together. Like we've all, you've all done.
You've lived a life at some point, right?
And you've all done this specific side work so many times. Please stop coming to me with the little fucking details. But I'm very excited for you to experience two people in particular.
I don't
coming
want to
you. Well, one, no, okay, yeah, I can't wait for these people to come to you and be like, oh, I did, you know, X, and then coming back and being like, oh, I did Y, and then coming back and being like, oh, I did Z, just so you can be like, okay, cool, tell me when you've done X, Y, Z and your roles. Like, just stop it. Stop. Like, you're interrupting my flow of things, and I just stop it.
Something that the fabulous host manager, soon to be server manager, fabulous manager, did mention one time, you know, after my emergency hammer shift, like I don't see people, like some of the things that they try to pull with other hammers, I don't see them trying to pull it with you. Right. And I also kind of would see that. I think
well, you definitely hold a much, like a stronger stance, just as a person than I think that I do. Not that I'm a pushover by any means, but I'm definitely much more lighthearted in certain situations than you might be.
And you just talk nicer to people. Not that I'm not nice to my coworkers. Right. Because for the most part, I am. Like, there is even people that I don't like and I would never hang out with outside of work. I don't walk in
very friendly,
flipping them off, being like, hey, suck my dick, bitch. Like,
you're not a bitch at work or anything like that, but you definitely have like a stronger, you know,
I am a little bit more intimidating.
Yeah, well, and you're a little more rough around the edges, and I don't see that being a problem.
No.
I think that will work in your favor.
With my coworkers,
Right. And I'm in fact, currently trying to be a little bit more strict about stuff, because sometimes, you know, people come to me and they're like, oh, you know, I've been waiting so long for this silverware, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, leave, you know. Whereas now I'm trying to be more like, no, I just need you to do it. Like, I write the side work, and I even write extra little notes at the bottom being like, read this and just do it, because I can't. And you're still going to have people that are going to work around it and who are going to find their little loopholes into how they're going to slip out that extra 15 minutes early or whatever. And it just kind of comes with the territory. Like, you're going to be cleaning up other people's messes. That's part of it. Yeah. And it's like, it would be nice if we got paid a little bit more for doing it, but that's fine. It's fine. It's cool. I do get a couple extra hours on the clock than other people do. And I will say, which I think I've told just about everybody this right now, because we have a newer host, right? She was a transfer. Yes. And love her. She's fantastic. So nice, yeah. She's also because she came from a busier restaurant. So she's very on top of things. Yeah. But she had asked me today, do you like hammering? And I said, I do right now. I did months and months ago. And then I didn't for a while because, as we've spoken about numerous times, it wasn't paying out.
Yeah.
If you're going to have me be in charge of all of these things and you're holding me to a higher standard, but I'm not making any more money, I don't want to be held to that higher standard.
Yeah.
You know, it's for a while we spoke about it. It was feeling like it wasn't worth it. And now
I think that was a sentiment amongst a lot of the hammers.
Every single hammer, I think, felt that. Across the board, we all felt that way. And I do think that now we've hit a turning point and we've figured it out, and the new floor plan, and because they just dealt with everybody talking about it. And finally something changed. And thank God that it did.
Everyone was talking to Fabulous Manager, and he made shit happen.
Yeah, and it was like, hey, we have an issue. These are our strongest people, and they're all complaining we need to fix something. And thank you so much for that, because I will say within the past 2 months, things have been great.
Yeah.
I have not had a hammer shift that was, I'm at the end of my shift at my wit's end, just picking up everybody's mess and not making any money.
And your sales were $1,000 less than somebody else that was in a random section.
Who came in an hour after me, left an hour before me, and is obviously making much more money than me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just come down to the money. It's just the fact that, like, if you're going to hold me to a higher standard, then I should be, compensated for it.
Yeah. In some way, yeah.
Right. And it wasn't happening where it is happening now. So I am also very happy that you're joining it now. Because had you become a hammer 4 months ago, 5 months ago, I don't think you would have stayed doing it. I think you would have taken 2 or 3 shifts and you would have said, actually, fuck this. Because it's more work, and for a little bit, it was in fact less money.
Yeah.
So to have it be this other way around, like I said, I think things are changing for the better, and I'm really happy about it.
But something I was told by the regional service manager the other day when I was speaking to her is that they are going to start, doing these yearly meetings, right, with hammers and trainers and stuff like that to make sure that there's almost like a retraining every single year.
And, yeah, they've been talking about that for a little bit, and I agree. If you want me to take a quiz, or if you want me to make sure that I hold all the standards that I'm supposed to hold, I'll gladly do it. If it means that those things are constantly being done.
Yeah, because she was mentioning that during COVID times, it kind of became so willy-nilly. They were having such a hard time keeping staff that it became whoever is on shift is now a trainer.
Right.
Whoever is on shift is now a hammer.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we don't have the staff to be picky about what's happening in the restaurant. So just everybody is doing it. And so she mentioned that they were going to be doing, these retrainings every year. And she, made a comment about, if we are expecting our hammers and our trainers to be held to this higher standard and to take trainings every year and to do these things. And, we need to do something else for them.
Right.
That is what she said. I don't know if that meant an extra $1 an hour.
I would honestly,
if that meant, however that meant compensation wise, but it sounds like she's trying to put something in the works that means hammers and trainers are going to be compensated in some way.
Right.
Farther than
their work.
Yeah, farther than just being the last one on the floor, getting the last, 2 or 3 tables at the end of the night.
Yeah, because sometimes those last 2 or 3 tables are the worst tables of the night.
They come in 20 minutes before the close, all
they want to do is waste my time and then get mad at me if I dare set the check down. Like I would. So when we're training, right, when you're a certified trainer or whatever, like you go through the whole thing and you become a trainer. So we have the codes to clock in as, right? When I clock in as a server trainer, I do make $1 more an hour.
Yes.
If I could clock in as a hammer and have that be the same standard, I think that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Like absolutely amazing. Like I understand that I am on the clock a little bit longer, but if that could also mean that extra hour or even hour and a half that I'm spending cleaning up everybody else's mess.
Not getting tips.
And I'm not getting tips because we've already closed and I'm just here cleaning everything up. If that could also mean just a little bit more money, I think that would make a huge change in how we all kind of saw it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what
of course not.
What the extra is going to be.
It's just that I could absolutely see that being a thing that could play out really well.
Yeah, I think that it is a really good idea. It'll be interesting to see going forward how that moves. We have a new, I mentioned this a little bit to you earlier, that there's a new position that was opened up in corporate that's above our regionals, but below the directors. So kind of that buffer between the regionals and the director who is overseeing specifically like servers. And I think that's how I received that information.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about
it. So I think that's how it is. But I'm wondering if that's brand new. So
Right.
Once that gets kind of settled in to see like how things are kind of rearranged within the restaurant itself, it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Right. No, and I could see it working out well if they're just going to be more hands-on.
I mean, honestly, yeah, more hands-on.
But we've talked about it so many times how we feel like the redheaded stepchild of the restaurants, over here in this corner.
And we are at the end of the day because we don't see our regionals very often.
Well, and we also
because
don't.
We're not the home store.
We don't make the sales that everybody else makes, and we don't make anything else. So it's like it would be really nice to have that extra hands-on. Like, I'm never bothered by the fact that I see regionals or directors in. If anything, it's like, great, let's see where the faults are. I want you to see these cracks. I want you to understand what I'm dealing with on a day-to-day. Because I don't think that a lot of it necessarily would go very far just in the restaurant, you know? I did want to talk about just a little bit, just guests being creepers, like just absolute fucking creepers. And I do have a story about the host, so I'm wondering if you have the same story.
Maybe it just happened yesterday.
It might be the same story about the host. Was it about my table?
I don't know whose table it ended up being. I just know that a gentleman came in, was super creepy, and said something really disgusting to our host that just transferred. And
I think it's the same story. Go right ahead.
Yeah, so what I had heard, right? Because this is just all secondhand. It was very much the guy comes in, host tells him like, oh yeah, it'll be a, I don't know, 10-minute wait, whatever. Right. Can I get a name for your...
It's the same story.
Yeah, for your walk-in. And he goes, oh, it's so-and-so, or just daddy.
And she goes, excuse me, what?
So disgusting.
I can't even... Like, I'm sorry, but I'm in my calling men out for shit era.
As you should be.
And so, because it's like I'm 35 years old. Like, let's just call it for what it is. You're being a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
If I had been standing there, I would have looked that man in his face, who ended up being my table.
That's, with his wife and kids.
With his wife and kid, and his parents came to join that later. But
worse.
Even on top of that, his wife, and his daughter were there Friday night in my section. Friday night. When I had 8 tables and was running around, handling all of that, they were one of those tables. So they sit. I go up to greet them. When they're ordering, I recognize this man from the night before. And so they order 2 iced teas, and then they ask the daughter, do you want that other iced tea? Because last time she got the passion. And so then she goes, no, I'll just take a Coke. And so I say to the table, you guys were here last night because I recognize you. You were just here last night. And he looks at me, he says, ha ha ha, yeah, can you smell it on us? And I went,
smell what? Like the restaurant?
Or that they're dirty or something? Like, because they have you not showered since you've been here? Like, I don't fucking know what you do when you leave this restaurant. But I don't know. He like motioned to like his armpit or whatever. And he's like, can you smell it on us? Ha ha ha. And so
Don't be weird.
Right. And so I went, no, I'll go get that started for you guys. And so I leave, to which I then walk up to our new host and I tell her, yeah, so table 32 just said this to me. And she goes, you want to know what he said to me? And I go, yeah, I do. And so she told me that he said, or daddy, or just daddy or whatever. And I went, I'm sorry, what? And I was like, what did you say? She's like, I didn't say anything. I just stood here and waited for him to walk away because she had reservations coming in and they were not a reservation. They were just joining the wait list, right? Of like 5 seconds. She just needed to, greet the people who were there for their reservations and let them know, just a second, and I'll seat you also. And so I was like, I would 100% have looked at him and said, you said what? You just said what? Like, I'm sorry, but no. I'm here at work. You're here.
Yeah, this is my place of employment, sir.
Right, and your wife and child are steps away from you. What the did your wife laugh? Did she hear you? Do you want me to say that louder? I might have even been like, oh, okay, 3 for daddy. Got it. Let me shout that out. You want to fucking back that up? Do you really mean that? And then I'm going to call that when it's time for your table and you're going to stand up. That's what I want to see. I want to call out 3 for daddy and have you stand the fuck up. Because I don't think you're going to anymore. No. I don't think this is going to be so cute and funny to you anymore when I turn around and say it in front of a fucking group of people.
We just signed paperwork for our employee handbook about, like, we can't, not that we can't, but we shouldn't be subject to harassment,
right?
Not just from our employees, but from guests as well. Like guests. That was, I'm pretty sure that was the addendum to the employee handbook, was like, we shouldn't have to put up with any type of harassment from our guest either.
Which I don't.
It feels really odd that if she were to tell a manager,
right,
And I don't know if maybe she didn't tell a manager or
maybe she did. I have no idea.
It was just one of those things where it was like, I don't know, tell a manager so that they can go to the table, and they absolutely should have this right to go to the table and be like, I'm so sorry, we can't serve you.
Right.
You need to leave.
You cannot talk to our
employees like
our
this.
Employees, let alone our underage employees like
right.
this.
Like it's so
we don't work
gross.
at a strip club, sweetheart. Like, I'm not the front to your bikini bar.
Right.
Like, you know, you don't, and even then men shouldn't be talking to women at a strip club like that either. But I do understand how it's like a different kind of, you know,
I mean, it's a different vibe, whatever, but it's still, yeah, absolutely. Maybe I read the employee handbook wrong, or that addendum, and I read it wrong, and I took it the wrong way, and I received it the wrong way, whatever, but it doesn't feel like that's something that we should put up with in our place of employment.
No.
Whether it be from coworkers and especially from guests.
Right. I am absolutely I'm a guest service employee. Like, and I understand that. But there's 2 men who come into this restaurant who I to this day will not serve.
Yeah. Because
of issues that I have had with them or things they have said to me or other employees. I'm not talking to you. You can come in as many times as you want. If anything, I'm livid that you haven't been 86 from this place.
And yeah, we have that. Who's that? It's this really, really old guy. He's a regular. I want to say he's in a chair that they wheel up to the tables, and his handler, every time a woman comes near, like any of the women service staff or women managers, anybody that works for our establishment that is a woman comes near that table, his handler will reach out and grab his hands to make sure that he doesn't reach out and touch
put
one
hands
of us.
On us. Yeah.
Because he has in the past, and we told him, you can't do that, you need to leave. And then they started coming back, and nobody has told them, I'm sorry.
Right.
Why are you here? You know that you can't be here.
Yeah, like
because it's the same handler.
Yeah, at a certain point, like, I need to know that my place of employment is going to have my back in things. And I will admit that the moment that I've gone, it was 2 different general managers that I went to about these 2 different men. Both of them looked me in the face and said, you will never have to serve them again. Fantastic. Thank you so much. But what even further than that, the next time you see them, you should be telling them you are causing stress to our employees. You cannot be here anymore. Yeah. Like, are we really losing that much business to kick out 2 guys?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Out of the entirety of California? Like, are you kidding me? Like,
their $50 to $60 tab every other week isn't,
if that
once a month maybe, isn't going to make or break. I mean, maybe it is, but
yeah. And if it is, then we have bigger problems. Like, yeah. But no,
I need to know that my place of employment is going to be a safe place for me to be, where I am free from harassment. And even in strip clubs, you have that.
Oh yeah,
that confidence.
If anything, they're more on top of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like sometimes strippers are more protected being half naked in a man's lap, than sometimes I am in this restaurant when there are
talking to a person.
When there are certain guests in the place that I know have harassed, said inappropriate things, or even touched another woman that works with us, and they are still here and we're still serving them, and nobody is telling them that they should not be here.
Right.
That feels like something we should be allowed to do, not as servers. At the restaurant
well,
itself.
and it's like corporate or not,
management team,
you guys should
know.
Yeah, they should care more about that, and it should be a bigger issue. And it's like, do I need to make a bigger stink about it? Because, like, I don't feel like I should. I don't feel like I should have to run up the ranks to make these complaints over and over and over again just to get one person fucking booted from the restaurant.
It feels
and I'm not doing this, and it's not like any of us are doing this week after week after week. Like, I don't have 50 people that I don't want to serve.
No.
And I'm also not just dealing with a slightly rude table that I'm like, I'm never serving them again. Like,
no, these are men that have literally reached out and grabbed people that work with us.
Grabbed us, cussed at us, or even at times thrown things in our general direction. Like,
and the managers are just like, well, they're here, so you might
they're
as
a paying
well.
Customer.
It's like, no, can we please just make it so that I know that I'm safe when I'm working here. That's all I ask. That's bare minimum of what I ask from my place of employment, is to keep me safe while I'm working
while I'm here on the clock.
Yeah.
This is a much less important story, or like, it's not even that big of a deal. But I had a table of 2 guests the other night, and I can't remember if it was Friday or Saturday. It doesn't really matter. But I had 2 guests sit down, and they're both gentlemen. One guy was probably in his 50s. The other was like late 30s. And so they want they will not let me leave the table. They want to order, but they have no idea what they want to order, which is always the funnest thing. And I'm in the middle of my busiest time of the night.
Of course you are.
And that's
never going to happen on your slow time.
No, of course not. And so I give them all of the time that they need. I stand right there. I'm walking them through different selections, different things that I recommend. Seat 1, who's the younger guy, says, I'll just take your recommendation. Whatever you say, I want it. Okay, perfect. So fantastic. And then the older gentleman takes his time also ordering. And all in all, they weren't a difficult table by any means. But we get to the end of it, and I said, because the older gentleman snaps at me to get his check down.
Ew.
To which, great, I love that so much. And so I bring him his check. I already had it in my pocket. I was ready for them to leave. And so I bring it down, and I go to walk away because neither one of them have wallets out or anything like that. So I'm going to walk away to go and do other things I have to do. To which the younger guy reaches out to stop me, and I don't let him touch me. I'm just like, no. And I go, oh, what's that? And he goes, no, we've got you right now. And I went, okay, fantastic. And so the older gentleman gets a card out, and this guy's not motioning to pull anything out, so I guess the older guy's paying. And so he gets his card out, and so I go, okay, I'll run that for you right now. So I run it, and I come back, I set it down, I go, guys, thank you so much for coming in. It's been, great. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. The spiel that I give.
Yeah.
And the younger guy goes, well, wait, don't go anywhere. He's got your tippy right here. He's got your tippy right over here. And in my head, I was like, please stop calling it a tippy because that's fucking weird.
Like, what are you, 6? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, why are we giving it like a little kid nickname? Like, what the fuck? Can you not say tip? Like, it's actually longer for you to say tippy. And it's bothering me every single time you're saying it. You're wasting so much of my time. So now I'm just uncomfortable. And then the guy starts pulling out cash. And I was like, oh, that's totally fine. Go ahead and leave it. I'll be back for it. Don't worry. You guys have a great night. And he's like, no. Just a second. You better tip her well. You better tip her really well. She did a great job. She was on top of it. Tip her. He's got your tippy right here. And I'm like, fucking stop calling it a tippy. Like, first and foremost, we are all grown.
What a weird interaction.
Please stop calling it a tippy. And so then I just start walking away because I can't handle this anymore. And this man is taking ages to find cash in his wallet. And I don't even care at this point. Also, if one person's shouting at the other person to leave a good tip, I don't want to watch you leave it.
Yes.
Like, this is now not my issue. I want you guys to handle this on your own.
No, it always feels so uncomfortable when you're like, I can't stand over a table when they're writing out, even if they're writing out the check.
Oh no, I won't.
And the credit card slip and stuff. If I walk up to grab a plate or something, I'm just like, I'll get that in a minute. Like, I'm not going to stand over you to try and
I'm not
look
gonna
over your
watch
shoulder.
You leave me a tip whatsoever.
That feels so uncomfortable.
Well, and like I said, and he's shouting at this, like,
it's so loud.
He's not drunk. He's had one cocktail since they've been here, and they've been here for like an hour and 15 minutes. Like, he's not drunk.
And ate a full meal, so there's no way.
Yeah, and he ate an entire meal plus appetizer and soup. They both got soup. So it's like, you guys are fine. But he's just like, no. And so I start walking away, and he goes, well, what, you want us to leave it on the table?
Yeah.
And I turn around and go, yeah, that'll be fine. Like, nobody's going to take it. Like, we have a really good standing here at this restaurant.
Yes, we do.
People aren't walking by stealing fucking $10, $15 off the table. Like, chill out. It's fine. And so I leave, and I do not go back to that table until they're gone. Like, I want nothing to do with them.
Yeah, I'd be peeking around the corner. You just see my little, like, forehead and eye, like, peeking around the corner to
I didn't even want him to see me because I didn't want him to be like, come get your fucking tippy. Like, stop it. Stop it. It was so out, and it, like, every time he said it, my heart sunk a little bit deeper because I was like, please stop calling it that. And then, like I said, he's talking to me, and then he's talking to the guy. He's like, give her a good tip. She deserves a good tip. And in my head, I was like, what, are you not paying for anything? Why don't you leave me a good tip? If you're so concerned about me getting a good tip, why don't you fucking leave it?
Pick up your wallet, buddy.
Right?
What are you doing?
I'm not seeing any cash coming out of your hands. But anyways.
That's so uncomfortable. I hate that.
So they did end up giving me an exact 20%. So fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Right? The bill was $150, and they left 12 on the card and then 18 in cash. So it was fantastic. Thank you so much. That was an exact 20%. However, if I could never have to have that interaction again, that would be so great.
I'll pay you back the 20%.
Yeah, I'll give you half of this back to never call it a tippy ever again. Come get your tippy. No. Leave without. I'll take nothing. Goodbye. I said good day.
I'd rather pay for you to eat here.
Yeah,
never listen to these
I'd
words
rather
again.
never have this interaction ever again. It was wild.
Oh, that's great. You ready to check out?
I think finally, yeah, we should check out.
Yeah. I mean, we got a couple more stories, but we're hitting the time limit, so we'll have to wait for next week.
Tune in because there's a couple funny ones on my plate. So
fantastic. Well, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Rolling Silverware Podcast. If you are enjoying the post-shift shit talk, please feel free to rate it. Tune back in next week for our shift shenanigans.